Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the backstory. If you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified whenever we post a new video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday High Court postponed the ruling on the impeachment of RIVALRY to 16th December of this year. The postponement came about after the High Court was informed by RIVALRY's lawyers that there were still some pending cases that were lodged by Nyeri women representative and another MCA so as to determine the legality of the impalement of the three judges who are to hear and determine Rigath's case. So this is coming after what Philomena Mwilu did. And Philomena Mwilu, when was asked some times back, they said that they were going to follow the constitution in determining RUTO-GACHAGUA's case. Let's listen in.
And the impeachment process that is ongoing regarding our deputy president is not unique. It's an application of the Constitution. It's not something that has been plucked from the air. It has a constitutional process to follow. And therefore, to that extent, it is a constitutional process. If it comes back to the courts, it's been in the courts, you know, the number of 20 whatever applications and cases. If it comes to court after Senate, whatever it is that happens, we don't know. We cannot anticipate the outcome of the Senate process. If it comes here, it's a case like the next case. It will be handled by we who sit in the judiciary in the manner the Constitution has authorized us to do, in the manner the law has authorized us to do. We can't go outside the Constitution.
So, ladies and gentlemen, they always say that justice delayed is justice denied. And in RUTO-GACHAGUA's case, it might be a case of justice being delayed for a specific purpose. And that specific purpose is what I want us to look at. Is it because President William Ruto's handlers are afraid of RUTO-GACHAGUA? And if they are afraid of his political influence, why are they afraid of RUTO-GACHAGUA's political influence? Or still, is President William Ruto's handlers using this case to buy time so as to at least try and weigh options and see if a ruling is made in favor of RUTO-GACHAGUA, what the effect of that ruling will be ahead of 2027 general election. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know, if the ruling is made against RUTO-GACHAGUA, then it means he will not vie for the presidency in 2027, and that gives him the power to now work with the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka and the likes of Matiang'i, that is the united opposition, so as to campaign against William Ruto in 2027. So another question is, what if the courts rule in favor of RUTO-GACHAGUA? That is that his impeachment was not constitutional. If that is the case, that is, if RUTO-GACHAGUA wins the case, then it means either he will be compensated or still he might request to be reinstated as the deputy president of Kenya, which I think might be a long shot. But the political implication of this is that RUTO-GACHAGUA can be liable to vie for the presidency in 2027, and this is what President William Ruto and his handlers would want, a scenario like that. Why am I saying so? One is the fact that they can use this to divide the united opposition, because RUTO-GACHAGUA will now come on the table energized. He will come energized, having a total of over 7 million votes from central Kenya on the bargaining table. And this plays against the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, the likes of Matiang'i, whose political backyard might not come on the table with a solid support. So what happens next? if this happens. So this will in fact affect Kalonzo Musyoka and Matiang'i in a way, because Kalonzo Musyoka is currently hoping that Rigathi Gachagua will support him in 2027. So if Rigathi comes in as another contender in the united opposition, then that waters down Kalonzo's chances. And that will mean that if Kalonzo does not support Rigathi, then it means we are going to have not only one candidate, but we are going to have several candidates vying for the presidency against President William Ruto. And this waters or brings down the chances of the united opposition clinching that seat ahead of 2027, unless they agree to support one of them. But another issue that President William Ruto would not want, or another scenario that he might not want, is a scenario whereby Rigathi Gachagua wins this case, and then the pressure is on him to reinstate him as the deputy president. This might work against President William Ruto because he will have like an opposition within the government, and they do not want a situation like what happened during President Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency, whereby President Ruto was an opposition within the government. This weakened President Uhuru's government in a way and gave Ruto more power politically. So he would not want a repeat of the same in 2027. So another question that you might want to ask yourself is that, is President William Ruto comfortable with Rigathi Gachagua going for the presidency in 2027? That is another question that other pundits are asking. One, for me, I think President William Ruto might want or might not want. One, he might want it because he might use it to divide the united opposition. But the other factor is that Rigathi Gachagua, if you look at the united opposition, the way it is currently, it is only Rigathi Gachagua who has the capability to mobilize people or to mobilize Kenyans against President William Ruto, because one, he's charismatic, is able to charm people with the words, and he has a political backing that might support him to the last man. Because some people are saying that former President Uhuru Kenyatta still has influence. But look at it. Heading to 2022 general election, that is the last general election, President Uhuru Kenyatta, then former President Uhuru Kenyatta, was an incumbent. But he was not able to sway his backyard fully, even though he gave Raila over 1 million votes. But he was not able to sway them fully to support Raila in 2022. So a case whereby he's not in government and is not actively involved in politics, his influence might not be felt so much as we head into 2027. So that leaves Rigathi Gachagua to be like a kingpin in central Kenya, even though he has not been declared fully. But if you look at what is happening on the ground right now, that gives him somehow leverage over other political leaders from central Kenya. So he might not want a situation whereby he's facing him directly in 2027. Because, just as I've said, he's charismatic, he's a mobilizer. And still the other factor is that he might have the backing of the Mount Kenya billionaires who might finance his campaigns ahead of 2027 general election. So he might have means if the billionaires or the men of means decide to support him in 2027, he might mobilize votes. And if he gets like a very good running mate, then rally the whole of the united opposition towards his candidature. That can give President William Ruto a run for his money in 2027. But still, on the other hand, it might work against the united opposition in that it can still divide them more because someone like Kalonzo Musyoka has said categorically that he's going to vie for the presidency in 2027. It's either now or never. So if he's not supported by the united opposition, still It can be sponsored by the government to run for the presidency, and that dilutes their chances of making it in 2027. So, ladies and gentlemen, whatever ruling was made yesterday, it's more of political than you'd think of the constitutionality behind it. It's constitutional because they had to wait for these other rulings to be made so that they can make a sound ruling without any eyebrows being raised. But for me, it's more political because the timing itself also matters. Look at the dates. We are heading into 2026. And just as I had said in the previous video, is that campaigns for the next general election will start proper in early 2026. So when that ruling will be made in 2026 or in December, on 16th 2020, December, it will have a significant effect because getting into 2026, that is January, whatever outcome, whatever ruling that will be made then, will shape the opinion of Kenyans as we get or as we begin the season of campaigns. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep monitoring what's going on in the political scene and we'll keep you updated. But if you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified whenever we post a new video. Until next time, bye-bye.